Hello everyone, myself Rutvipal. Today I am going to discuss the crisis of truth and misinformation, Nick Carraway as an unreliable narrator in the post-truth era. Here is academic information, a table of content, and my research question. How does Nick Carraway's unreliable narration through selective omission, romanticized bias, and intoxicated recollection mirror the mechanism of misinformation in the post-truth era? And the hypothesis is while Nick Carraway self-fashion as an objective observer, his narration is compromised by Gatsby-centric idealism, moral hypocrisy, and alcohol cloud, memory distortion akin to post-truth storytelling. Yet his retrospective critique of the jazz age inadvertently expose how such narratives manipulation perpetuate collective delusion, much like contemporary media's ecosystem. His introduction, the post-truth era and the literary forewarning. The term post-truth was named Oxford Dictionary's Word of the Year in 2016. It referred to the cultural shift where object fact are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeal to emotion and personal belief. In today's media landscape, selective storytelling play a powerful role in manipulating truth. News outlets, social media, and politicians carefully choose what to highlight and what to omit, creating narratives that reinforce a specific belief. Literature has always been a reflection of societal struggle with truth and deceptions. The Great Gatsby is an excellent example of this. The concept of the unreliable narrators introduced by both in 1961 explain how narrators manipulate reality. Both defines an unreliable narrator as one who does not act in accordance with the norms of the work. Nick Carraway in The Great Gatsby served as a classical unreliable narrator. While he pretend himself as an honest observer, he selectively choose what to reveal, shaping our perception of Gatsby and the other characters. The unreliable narrator. When can we trust the storyteller? Definition: an unreliable narrator is one who credibly is compromised due to inconsistencies, bias, or contradiction in their storytelling. As Vera state, the classification of a narrator as reliable or unreliable depends on the reader's value system and historical context. Why it's matter? Because it challenges the perception of truth. Readers must critically engage with the text, questioning what is fact and what is distortion. Historical and cultural influence is what is considered unreliable. Shift with societal value, what was once accepted as a truth may be seen as a deception. Moral and ethical ambiguity. Both argue that the unreliable narrators are often morally and intellectually deficient, forcing reader to evaluate narrative through their own moral framework. Example of unreliable narration. From the novel, Nick Carraway mentioned that I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known. This self-assertion contradicts Nick's bias and selective storytelling, make his reliability questionable. Connection to the post era. In an age where misinformation thrives, unreliable narrates mirror contemporary concern about manipulated narratives, fake news, and the subjective nature of truth. Nick Carraway's character background. Nick as a narrator serve as a both observer and participate in the Great Gatsby. He educated at Yale, moves to New York for the bond business, and self his key traits is his self-proclaimed honesty. As we mentioned before, that I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known. However, scholars challenge this claim. Peter Likas argued that Nick's honesty is questionable, as his narration is shaped by bias and selective storytelling. His contradiction raised a doubt. While claiming honesty, he also admit I am inclined to reserve all judgment, yet frequently critiques other and bias towards the Gatsby. Nick criticized the moral corruptions of the Buchanan, yet romanticized Gatsby, calling him greater, despite acknowledging his illegal activities and obsession with the past. W. H. Frohook observed that Nix never does break through the murk to see Gatsby for what he is, pitiful, romantic of, and discomfort with disorder. His narration emphasizes a contrast between order and chaos, reflect his struggle to maintain moral clarity in a world of moral ambiguity. He reacts with discomfort to moment of a social disorder, such as Martin's affair and the excess of Gatsby's parties. Nick portrayal of Gatsby's and the event around him is filtered through his own moral limitation, making his reliability as a narrator deeply questionable. Evidence of unreliability, concealment of information. Nick's lied, choking when Daisy asked why she had to come alone. That's the secret of Castle Recurrent. So this sentence serves the same purpose. It underplay the moral significance of the actions. His first-person narrative created a technical problem he could not plot his way out of. Nick selectively omits details, shaping Gatsby as a myth rather than an objective reality. Censorship of personal experience. To praise Gatsby and denounce the East, Nick must be a upright man, not a liar, a hypocrite, or a ponder. Fitzgerald, who once said of himself, I guess I am too much a moralist at heart and really want to preach at people in some acceptable form, need to protect his narration moral positions. Nick's self-censorship reinforces his illusions of moral superiority while observing his own flaws. Nick's role as a narrator allows him to control the reader's perception, making his reliability questionable. Categories of unreliability. There are four key categories, in which first is a Nick withdraw or distorts information, shaping how the readers perceive event and characters. Censorship. Nick downplay his own moral failing, making himself appear more objective than he truly is. And memory gaps due to intoxication. Nick's drinking affect his ability to recount event occurrently. Subjective judgment. Nick present opinion as fact, especially regarding Gatsby's and Tom Buchanan. These categories reveal that Nick is not a neutral observer, but an unreliable narrator whose bias shaped the entire novel. The impact of bias of fondness for Gatsby affect narrative perspective. First, Nick's admiration. Nick Carraway admires Gatsby for his ambitions and romantic idealism. He highlight Gatsby's lavish party and hopeful pursuit of Daisy. Selective storytelling. Nick represents Gatsby's positivity while downplaying his illegal activities and flaws. This creates an idealized image of Gatsby as an tragic hero. Criticism of other character. In contrast, Nick is critical of characters like Tom Buchanan and Daisy. He emphasized their arrogance, infidelity, and moral failing. Nick's foundation skew the narrative, leading to a sympathetic portrayal of Gatsby. This bias impact readers' the perception of the truth and morality. Border implication reflect how personal bias can distort storytelling in literature and real life, similar to contemporary media favoring certain narratives based on audience performance. Parallel to the post-truth era, Nick Carraway's selective narration was in modern media bias. Nick distorts reality through the omissions and subjectivity judgment, mirroring how modern media selectivity present fact to shape the narratives. Truth distortion in news and social media. Political facts. Social media has played a decisive role in election spreading misinformation that influence over perception. For example, 26th US election and 29th Indian election. Echoes, chambers, and confirmation. People engage more with content that aligns with their existence belief, leading to personalization. And we all are aware about deep AI and deep fake, which create misinformation, somehow create misinformation. Like we also aware about deep fake video of Rashmika Mandana. The current example, if we face COVID-19 and health means fake course and vaccine myths. Social media was flooded with misinformation about COVID-19, including false treatment and vaccine conspiracy theory. For example, Bill Gates a microphone hoax and political event and social media's influence. WhatsApp and Facebook in India's election. 2029 political parties use misinformation to manipulate public opinion. COVID-19 blames game, false claim about the virus or origins and targeted disinformation campaign, flooded racial discrimination and global tension. The parallel between Nick Carraway selective narration and today's post-truth era highlight the dangers of manipulation storytelling both in literature and real life. These are the example which I take from the Facebook, and the example of Yogi Adityanath. He declared that in Kumbh Mela, boatsmen earn 3 crores during Kumbh Mela. But in reality, there is a one person who earned this money. But in background, the boatsmen are not get money. But he, this information harm to livelihood. Those are living there. Conclusion: Nick Carraway's reliability remains a subject of debates, while his retrospective narration suggests reflection. His bias, omission, and contradiction underline his credibility. His idealization of Gatsby's and selective judgment of others further distort the narrative. These debates extended beyond literature, mirroring modern censor about misinformation and subjective truth. Ultimately, the Great Gatsby challenged the reader to question how narrative shape reality. These are the references. This is from my side. If you have any question, feel free to ask.
Rutvi, my question is, does this mean the Great Gatsby predicted fake news?
Not exactly, but it definitely explores how powerful people controls narratives. Gatsby's whole image is like 1925 version of deep fake, carefully crafted illusion. Neil. Nick as a media and even Gatsby himself helped to build and maintain this fantasy, just like a political campaign and social media influencer do today. Next one.
So, Rutvi, my question is, if Nick is so unreliable, why does Fitzgerald use him as the narrator?
Yes, that is the question. That his unreliability is all his unreliability shows the all storytelling is bias. Bias. Fitzgerald basically says that do not trust everything which you hear, even it seems like honest, like Nick Carraway. Still twist the truth, just like Bodhi Media is does today. Thank you. This is from my side.